I think that everybody who thinks that AI is not going to replace pretty much every job out there is sort of just coping.
Hey guys, welcome to Common Denominator. My guest today is Russ Ruffino. He's a business coach, a high-ticket offer specialist, and a transformational leader. Russ has generated over $100 million in revenue and helped over 5,000 coaches and experts build scalable businesses that make real impact.
The most important skill you can have in marketing is empathy. You need to know exactly what your audience's problem is. You need to know exactly how they're experiencing it every day. And you need to know exactly what they're doing to try to overcome it.
What would you say is the common denominator of people that are thriving in their businesses?
You attract according to your state of being. So you need to believe that you were born to be successful.
Hi, Russ, and welcome to Common Denominator.
Thank you so much.
We're going to get to the business stuff in a second, but I know you used to be an actor and in a 80s cover band. Tell us a little bit about that.
So in the 80s, I was 0 through 10 years old. So in my 20s, I wanted to be an actor. That was the thing. So I went to a high school for performing arts. I went to UCLA to study theater and study acting. And while I was at UCLA, I was studying at different studios in the city. That's actually where I met my wife, as an acting class. And yeah, man, I was the lead singer of an 80s cover band. And those were the good, fun days of just being broke as hell. So, but we did have fun.
So you did that in the 90s. It was like
no, that was in the 2000s.
2000s.
So I was born in 79. I did acting from like age 20 to age 30, and then I started my online business at 31, and that was in 2011, I think.
I love film and I love music as well. What would you say to people going into those two spaces nowadays? What would you advise?
I mean, I think that if it's something that you live for, then you owe it to yourself to go for it. If you live for it and it moves you and you've got the talent, yeah, you got to go for it. In my case, I really loved acting, but as I got older, I started to realize that it was more the idea of it than the actual thing. So in other words, like in my limited model of the world, I thought, hey man, you got two choices in life. You can either get hired and work in some office 40 hours a week, whatever, or you can be a movie star or a rock star or whatever. And if you wanted to have income and freedom and make an impact on the world, that was it. You know, go become a movie star, go become a TV star, whatever it was. That whole thing changed when I read The 4-Hour Workweek for the first time. And I realized, oh my God, there's this entirely different path that one could take to, you know, create that income, create that freedom, create that impact. And even though that book didn't give you the whole picture, it gave me enough of a taste that I was like, oh my God, this whole world of online entrepreneurship, what is it that I really love about acting? Is it that I actually love acting itself? Or is it I thought that I would have freedom if I made it as an actor? And then the crazy thing is, man, I had a lot of friends that were starting to make it as actors around that time. I had a friend who was on Glee. I had a friend that was on different shows. They loved it, but they didn't have any freedom at all. They were working all the time. That sort of freedom piece that I thought was going to be there never really materialized.
I know that Tyler Perry was going to open a studio, just talking about film, in Georgia, a larger studio. And because of AI, he decided to nix that project. Where do you think we're going to be in like 10 years from now when it comes to film production, and what's going to be with actors?
I think that everybody who thinks that AI is not going to replace pretty much every job out there is sort of just coping. I think nobody really knows what it means. I think that you can see every couple months a new video generation model comes out. The latest one I think is VO3, I think it's called, and it's insane. It's insane what you can generate with just a simple text prompt. So I think there is space for actors. There is a space for especially great actors who can really bring that humanity to the performance. But I think we're going to see an explosion of content where the limiting factor right now, if you want to get your movie made, is money, right? You need, $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, even just on a shoestring budget to make something. With AI, you're going to have people that are creative geniuses that are now able to create exactly what they want to create practically for free. And so I think you're going to see an explosion of content. And just like there's so much content on all these different streaming platforms now, it's like impossible to keep track. I think it's going to be the same thing. I think certain things will go viral. I think certain things will break through. But I think that actors will become less necessary, and photographers will become less necessary, and video production crew will become less necessary, where you can sit down with your AI and just bring your vision to life, whatever that is.
Because I've heard both sides. I've heard that many jobs in 10 years from now will be taken over, but they're going to need jobs to manage the AI. So I think of being flexible and pivoting, getting knowledgeable. A lot of the information is free. I know also in your younger self, and it's something that I thought about doing when I was younger as well, you worked as a bartender. Extremely hard work. But what did you learn about the human in that experience?
Yeah, that was an invaluable experience. I saw people go on their first dates. I saw people go on their last dates. I saw people get engaged. I saw people break up. I saw a guy come in with his wife on Monday and come in with his mistress on Wednesday. It was a very small bar, and it was the kind of bar where people sit and hang out. And as the bartender, I got to watch all of those human interactions. I saw guys hit on girls and get shot down. I saw guys hit on girls do great. I saw girls hit on guys. I had girls hit on me. It was just like everything you could possibly expect to see, I saw. And it was just this incredible education in human behavior. And when you take into account the fact that I was studying acting at some of the best acting studios in the city at the same time, learning about human behavior there, and then seeing these interactions play out for 10 years at my bar was an amazing thing. And I think that's why when I finally decided to start my online business and I just dove into writing copy, I could just do it. It was the damnedest thing, man. Like I had no marketing background whatsoever. When I started my online business, I sat down, I started to write a sales letter. I started to write, follow-up emails. I started to write these marketing materials, and it was crazy. I could just do it. It just flowed. It was like if you have this incredible gift for chess and nobody puts a chessboard in front of you until you're 31. Right? So you've never played, that's the first time you play chess, but you're just like, oh, this is great. Bup, 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 bup. That's what it was like for me, because I had this incredible background in acting and this incredible background in human behavior. And I could get into the psychology of the people that I was writing to in a way that I think that other copywriters probably couldn't. And that was something that was very, very powerful for me when I started.
I always think about the human psychology. Do you feel that it's a matter of being deeply self-aware and then understanding other people? Because the whole show is Common Denominator. You talk about the human psychology, what we actually do as humans and things we have in common. Do you feel it's reflecting within yourself to understand, or just watching all different ages and different types of people and watching them and you're like, okay, that's predictable. I know what action and what decisions they're going to take to understand humans?
The most important skill you can have in marketing is empathy. The most important skill you can have in marketing is empathy. You need to know exactly what your audience's problem is. You need to know exactly how they're experiencing it every day. And you need to know exactly what they're doing to try to overcome it. Because when you can describe someone's problem better than they can, they automatically assume that you know the answer. So at my company, Clients on Demand, we take coaches and experts that are basically unknowns, and we get them launching their coaching business and just crushing it and doing it sometimes in some very, very crowded markets. And part of the reason we're able to do this so successfully is that everybody is focused on talking about themselves. Well, I want to tell my story. I want to talk about where I was certified. I want to talk about that I studied with guru so-and-so. I want to talk about my client results. I want to talk about, all this other stuff that your audience really doesn't care about. The only thing your audience cares about is the problems that they're struggling with every day. And so at Clients on Demand, what we do is we keep the conversation about that, where we say, here's exactly what you're dealing with. Here's exactly what you're going through. Here's the things that you're thinking right now that you wouldn't even tell your best friend. You wouldn't even tell your wife. Things that you could barely admit to yourself. Because when you do that, you create an instant and automatic connection with your audience in a way that's powerful and undeniable. And it's not based on, well, trust me because I have a PhD, or trust me because I have 1 billion followers on Instagram, or trust me because I have a zillion case studies. No, it's like people just say, I trust you because you are explaining exactly what's going on with them. So that's the piece that I think a lot of people in marketing and in business don't really understand. That if you want to connect with your audience in a way that makes you unforgettable, you have to talk about their problems better and more deeply than they can.
How hard is it? You mentioned trust, and I've mentioned on the show before that maybe a generation ago, they would have a circle of 2 or 3 people that they could tell, you talk about the things, the actual things, right? So nowadays it's more like 0, right? So to build that trust, again, in a crowded market, if someone isn't naturally an empath, how do they go ahead and develop that skill set in an authentic, real way? How would they actually end up doing that?
So the first thing to do is to get to using your imagination. So look, you can always interview potential clients. You can always ask them what's going on with them. You can, read their posts. You can do your homework, basically, right? But at the end of the day, if I'm being really honest, my marketing approach doesn't really depend on that. Like, we don't do a lot of market research. My market research is, let me close my eyes and let me imagine what it's like to wake up as this person that I'm talking to. So for example, if I'm working with a client who has a marriage offer, an offer to save someone's marriage, right? You wake up every day 12 inches away from this person that's supposed to be the love of your life, but you feel like there's miles and miles in between you. You walk past your wife's iPhone every single day and you feel your hand reaching out to grab it and maybe you can go through some text messages, but you're terrified of what you might find out if you did. Do you see what I mean? Like, talking about what they're thinking, what they're feeling, what they're going through every single day. If I'm talking to somebody that's in their market, they immediately trust you. They immediately are like, oh my God, you know what you're talking about. I have a client named Betsy who has this offer where she helps women decide if they want to stay in their marriage or not. And she wrote this incredible post the other day about how, like, when you're at the point where you're ready to maybe get divorced, your husband starts to smell different to you. And it's something that that post went crazy because it just resonated so deeply with their target audience. And it's just such a strange, obscure little detail that the only way you could possibly know that is if you're deeply and intimately connected to what this audience is going through, because the women who read it went crazy. Oh my God, yes, that's exactly what's happening. He does smell different. It's like that kind of thing. It transcends credibility indicators because the instant response of your audience is, oh my God, yes, this person gets me.
Yeah, I found, you have a lot of guys online, guys in their 20s, and they're doing the online coaching businesses and they're making good money. But I really think about, I'm 45, and I think about you have to have real life experience to be a genuine person that's able, in other words, that you went through the pain of that experience, the emotions, the ups, downs, rights, lefts, to be able to truly validate the person that you're speaking with and spending time with, and then be able to step away and really look to help that person. But again, I always see that only people can help themselves, right? So it's like everybody needs that validation. But can these guys in their 20s, because there are a lot of them doing the online coaching business, can they actually get results for people? Can they actually help people? Because that's the win-win. That's the ultimate goal. Or do they actually have to experience these things? It's hard to imagine, being in that person's shoes emotionally. That's the hard part, I find.
Yeah, I think that's a major barrier if you don't have the life experience. But there's a handful of guys in the coaching space that can really help you build a business that does $100,000, $500,000, $1 million a month. I mean, it's literally like a very small number of people. And the reason for that is that, number one, you have to have the strategy, which almost nobody has. That strategy has to be very simple, very clean, very easy to execute. It has to work for people regardless of their level of experience. But more than that, it is usually not the strategy that holds people back. So like, let's say you have the best strategy in the world, you're still going to have a problem with your clients actually following that strategy because they get stuck in fear, in self-doubt, and in overwhelm. And I think a lot of these guys that are getting into the coaching space, they see an opportunity. They go, oh, well, let me funnel hack Russ Ruffino and copy all his marketing angles, and I'll throw up a funnel and then I'll rock and roll. I've noticed something, man, in my news feed. It's a different set of guys every like 3 or 4 months. I'll roll out a campaign. I'll see like a bunch of people just basically copy that campaign. But 4 months later, they're gone. Why? Because the campaign worked. They got people signing up to their coaching program. None of those people got results. They all asked for refunds and now they're out of business. I've seen that play out over and over and over and over again throughout the years, because I think that for so many people in this business, getting results for your clients is just kind of an afterthought, right? The first thing is, how do we make money? The second thing is, how do we turn a profit? The third thing is, how do I get the lifestyle I want? Oh, and then maybe if I have time, I'll get results for people, right? That's ass backwards.
Yeah.
The first thing on your mind needs to be, how do I design a program that actually gets people where they want to go? Now, look, you're not a genie, okay? You can't snap your fingers and make someone successful. You can't snap your fingers and save someone's marriage, right? So the person still has to show up and they have to do the work. But the way that I see it is coaching is a two-way street, right? And it's my job to hold up my side of the street better and stronger and more powerfully than anyone else in this industry. And if I'm doing that and you hold up your side of the street, then we're going to make some magic happen. But I think that so many people go into this and all they see is an opportunity to make money. They don't understand that there's a moral obligation that we have to do everything we can to get the best results for everybody that we work with.
I'm constantly thinking about like reverse engineering. You think about, you have to have that moral compass, but okay, this is where this person needs to be, but also you have to be strong enough to have the hard conversation in the beginning. I want to let you know, as a coach, you're going to hate me some days. That's a good coach, because what I'm going to be actually doing is I'm going to call you on your shit, basically, and I'm going to tell you what it is, and I'm going to make you sit in it, whether it's personal or business, because otherwise I'm not doing my job. The job of the coach always is to make the person better. And if you're just constantly saying you're the best, that's a problem.
Yeah, of course. And that requires a skill set that's tremendous. So for example, my managing director, Jane Jewell at our company, she's one of the best mindset and performance coaches in the world. She got certified by Tony Robbins, I think when she was like 10 years old. Her mom worked for Tony and she was like, "Mommy, can I do this coach certification?" And Tony was like, "Sure, kid, if you can get out there, come do the coach certification," right? She's in her 50s now. So she's been doing nothing but the highest level mindset performance coaching on the planet for her entire life. And that's the kind of skill set that you need. Like if you're, whatever you're stuck on, man, like, you got some limiting belief, you got some way that you're self-sabotaging, you're overwhelmed, whatever it is, she can get you past that in one conversation. And that's the kind of firepower that you need if you really want to get great results for people, is because you have to be able to unravel and deprogram all of their psychological nonsense that's standing in their way of getting results. It goes way beyond just like, hey, here's how you do Facebook ads, or here's how you make a webinar. It's like, that's not what's going to stop people. What's going to stop people is like imposter syndrome. What's going to stop people is they have their first $100,000 a month and they freak out because no one in their family's ever made more than $80,000 in a year. And they have no idea what that amount of money means to them. Your subconscious freaks out and starts to run for cover, just like people who win the lottery. And then all of a sudden they can't get rid of the money fast enough because having that much money is so uncomfortable to them. You have to know how to unravel these things for your clients, or they're just going to sabotage over and over again.
Again, reverse engineering. I talk to a lot of people about the ideas of abundance. And to your point, I see it so many times, the self-sabotage of people. They got their goal, but they burned their relationships, they burned their family, they burned many things. So they didn't think holistically about the emotional control that you need. You have to be you. And in that, it's a side piece is the abundance that you've been able to create. And that's something that's a tool. You have to think of it as a tool, and it shouldn't be everything. Because if it's everything, then to your point, you're just going to blow through the whole thing. I know you talk a lot about in-person workshops. Mm-hmm. How would you get clients to attend? Let's say you come to Miami, for example. What are 2 or 3 ways that you can do that to get people to show up?
Most of what we do is online stuff. We do some live events sometimes, but this is why when COVID hit, a lot of businesses were disrupted, and we kind of skated through that because everything we were doing was sort of online anyway. So yeah, nothing wrong with doing live events. We do them sometimes and they're a lot of fun, but I think that it's like a point of vulnerability, right? And I think a lot of people found that during COVID. We're like, now you can't do live events anymore. Like you can't have 200 people in a room. So as far as getting people to attend anything, it's the same principles. It's what is the outcome? And that's the thing that people need to understand. You're not selling your time. You're not selling your expertise. You're not selling a fun weekend. You're not selling a networking event. You're selling what is the outcome. Your audience is here and they want to get here, right? They're in one stage of their business and they want to get to the other stage. So what does that look like? And how can you get them there? Their marriage isn't working and they want to make it work. So how can you get them as close to that outcome as you possibly can during the time of that event? And if they can see and sense their life is going to look different by the time they get done with that event, then they're going to come. So that just clarifies things, because you need to build everything around the outcome. And then look, if you're a major celebrity or something like that, you're always going to have that factor of like, hey, people want to come and hang out. You're going to have like the Michael Jackson factor where it's like, oh yeah, so-and-so is going to be there. You're going to have some people that want to come because of that. But if you don't have that star power, that celebrity, then you just build it around the outcome. Everything in your business should be built around the outcome, right? What's that outcome that you help people achieve? And how can you communicate that as cleanly and powerfully as possible? And as long as I understand that, yeah, I might spend 2-3 days of my life going to an event. I probably have to buy a plane ticket. I have to buy a hotel, whatever. But if my life's going to look different and I understand how, then I'm not going to hesitate to do that.
There's such a crowded space, obviously, on social media. What would be your top 3 hacks to actually get people? Like, what would be the step 1, step 2, step 3? Okay, I have this online course on a macro level to get clients, potential clients, to actually pay attention. It seems to me it's the first 3 seconds.
Yeah. What captures people's attention is outcome plus curiosity hook. So you can start your ad with, a pattern interrupt where you hit yourself in the head with a watermelon or something stupid just to stop the scroll or whatever, right? We don't usually do that. But where you begin the messaging is the outcome plus the curiosity hook, right? So here's this amazing thing that we're going to help you achieve, but here's this weird little twist that makes you very curious. So I'll give you an example that everybody's very familiar with, right? Whether you love him or hate him, Trump is really good at this, right? We're going to build a wall and Mexico is going to pay for it. Okay. So we're going to build a wall. So, okay, I'm with you. And Mexico is going to pay for it. And it's like, what? How the hell are you going to do that? And that makes people have to keep listening, because whether that idea sounds great to you or whether that idea pisses you off, it creates a cognitive dissonance where you're like, there's no way that can be true. I have to keep listening. For like a marriage offer, it might be something as simple as like, how to save your marriage in the next 60 days, even if you're the only one who wants to, or even if your wife or your husband is completely checked out. One of the best headlines we ever ran was how we built a $100 million coaching company with one 45-minute presentation. You see, that detail is what creates the curiosity. That detail creates that incongruence. So that's the first thing. That's what you do to get them to pay attention. That's what you get them to do to opt in to watch your video or to click the ad and watch your video or whatever it is. Then on the video, you repeat that hook, and then you do what I said before. You describe their problems better than they can. Does this sound like you? Did you spend a fortune on your coaching certification or your degree, and no matter what you do, you can't seem to charge more than $100 an hour? Or do you feel like you want to grow your business, you want to scale your business, but right now you're completely dependent on word of mouth? Do you see other people in your space who are crushing it online? You have no idea how they're doing it. Do you know what I mean? Have you bought programs and courses and signed up for mentoring, but you never really got the results that you wanted, and now you just feel like you're just burning through more cash and more time is going by? Describe their problems better than they can. But then what you do is you reframe those problems as just being a symptom of a bigger problem that they're not even thinking about. And this is how you create your own economy, all right? So this is like one of the most powerful ideas I've ever come across. I describe your problems better than you can. And right there, you're going like, oh my God, this guy gets me. What do I do about it? And then you turn around and you say, well, look, you know what? If you're dealing with this and this and this and this and this, guess what? None of those things are the real problem. The real problem is this other thing. So that movie, The Secret, do you remember that back in like 2006, sure. That DVD, yeah. The Secret came out. This is what they did that made that thing go viral, right? They said, look, are your relationships struggling? Are you not making the money that you were born to make? Are you struggling with health problems, right? None of those things are the real problem. The real problem is that you're not using this ancient thing called the law of attraction. And once you start using that, all these other problems are going to take care of themselves. But if you're not using that, you're never going to fix these other problems. So let's talk about what that looks like. Now, think about what happens there. If you buy into that premise, if I accept that premise, I understand that my health problems, my relationship problems, my financial problems are all because I'm not using this law of attraction thing that I've never heard of before, right? So that means that if I'm thinking about buying somebody's relationship program or health program or finance program, now I can't buy it, right? Because it doesn't deal with the real problem, which is the law of attraction thing. So it wipes out all competing solutions and makes your solution the only game in town because you're the only person who's addressing the real problem. Does that make sense?
Yeah, completely. Completely.
So again, I'll give you one more example. So if it's like a marriage offer, right? Does this sound like you? Do you feel like you're doing everything your wife wants you to do? And every day you guys are growing more and more distant? Do you feel like you're taking, going to work every day and showing up and making the money and taking great care of your family, but no matter what you do, it never seems to be enough? Well, none of those things are the real problem. The real problem is that you don't know how to decode what your wife really wants from you. And until you figure out how to decode that, you're going to keep struggling. Right? But once you learn how to really interpret what she's telling you, what she's saying, and figure out what she really wants, then building the marriage that you want happens almost automatically. Does that make sense? So now it's like, now I understand. The problem is I'm not speaking her language and I have to learn how to do it. And you can do that with any offer out there. And that is how you wipe out the competition and create your own economy.
Yeah, because it forces them to come to you and be more engaged.
Yeah, and what you have to understand is that 99% of your competitors aren't talking about an outcome at all. They're not really doing a good job describing their audience's problems, and they're sure as hell not reframing them as being symptoms of a bigger problem. So most of your competitors aren't doing any of that. And that's how we get these coaches that no one's ever heard of before that have 100 followers on Instagram to come into these very crowded markets like marriage and build these super successful businesses because they're communicating in a way that's different from everybody else.
Yeah, I've seen that. Let me ask you, Russ, I know you had the experience being with your father when he passed, and you talk a lot about gratitude and trying to make impact in the world. But what's something today, looking back at your life, what's something that you're deeply grateful for?
I practice gratitude every single day. I go to bed at night practicing gratitude. I wake up in the morning, I get in the shower, and I'm practicing gratitude. I mean, I'm grateful for my business. I'm grateful for my clients, my wife, my 4 kids, my house, everything in my life I'm incredibly grateful for. And then for me, the secret is you start to be grateful for the things that you don't have yet. Like that's the secret, I think, to manifesting what you want. You start out by being grateful for what you already have, but then you shift your focus to being grateful for the things that you don't have yet. That's how I manifested this house. I mean, that's how I manifested my business, my car, everything. All this stuff I practiced being grateful for before I actually had it. And then it just showed up at the right time in the right way.
Amazing. And what would you say is the common denominator of people that are thriving in their businesses?
You attract according to your state of being. And so you need to believe in success. You need to believe that you were born to be successful. You need to be serious about helping your audience. You need to be serious about helping them win. If all you're trying to do is bring cash in the door with no regard whatsoever for whether or not you can actually help somebody, whether you realize it or not, you're operating from a place of scarcity and you're building a house of cards. So the common denominator for everybody in business is how you use this. And even people that sort of like don't believe in the law of attraction or don't believe in manifesting or whatever you want to call it, right? Like you're going to tell me a guy like Elon Musk isn't visualizing every single day? Of course he is. All day, every day. He's imagining a city on Mars and he's doing what he has to do to create it. So it's like all these successful people are just constantly living in this reality, this alternate reality that they're busy creating. And then the other thing is they've got the courage to act from that new reality. And that's where I think things break down for most people, because any idiot can write a list of goals. Any idiot can make a vision board. But are you going to make those hard choices? Are you going to make those big leaps? Are you going to do things like quit your job? Are you going to do things like start that business? Are you going to do things like spend $5,000 on Facebook ads, not knowing if that money's going to come back to you or not? Yeah. That's what kind of separates the men from the boys, the women from the girls, is not just having that vision and staying faithful to it, but having the courage to act as if that vision is already a reality.
Just on that point, why is that so courageous? Because everything that's going on in reality, right? That's why people think you could be a little bit crazy. Kind of everything that's going on is way different than this whole other movie that you have in your head, this whole other vision that you have in your head. And then to your point, right, you're actually doing steps that way, which is way different than the reality that it is today. That's why it's super hard, but that you have to do over a long period of time consistently. So I appreciate that advice. And thank you again, Russ, for joining us on the show and for all your information, secrets, actually, to make great online coaching. How can people follow you on social and work with you as well?
So on pretty much every social media platform, I'm at Russ Ruffino. If you want to book a call to talk to our team, we'd love to talk to you about how we can, help you get where you want to go. And in order to do that, you just go to clientsondemand.com. That's our website. You can go to clientsondemand.com/apply.
Thank you so much, Russ. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
You got it.
If you haven't already, please take a moment to hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform. Subscribing ensures you never miss an episode, and it helps us continue to bring you meaningful conversations that make a difference. Thank you for being part of our growing community. We couldn't do this without you. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you again soon.